Guys, or you say, yeah, well, we call it a geezer. Is that the same? No, it's same in Britain, but it's different in North America.
Yeah, because the difficult I have on that, I'm going to appeal to my Anglicanism, and almost I don't want to impose that in terms of church governance. But I at the same time I'm part of Rich SA because I do like what we do. The fact that, for example, the pastor is employed by the council, which I think has that element of accountability. So I think you do need a group of elders who are going to hold the pastor accountable on the things he does. And so I don't want to prescribe though and say that's the only model, but I find it helpful that the pastor is not the main guy who employs everyone, who fires everyone, but there are people that he himself is accountable to. But again, I think that falls under the area of general wisdom and how God's people should handle the affairs of the church.
Yes. I mean, prudential wisdom, as Mark Dever likes to speak of. The principles are pretty clear, but the actual mechanics of how it works out will vary a bit from place to place. But there needs to be some possibility of holding not only an individual elder accountable, but once in a while you get a whole council of elders going off the edge somewhere theologically or in some other way. And there's got to be a way for the church as a whole, meeting in assembly, to decide what to do. When the whole church comes together and my spirit is with them, then this is what I want you to do, Paul writes to the Corinthian assembly. So the church together often has more wisdom under the Spirit than people expect. It's not for nothing that Jesus says in Matthew 18, tell it to the church. And instead of hiding stuff from the church, whenever things get really, really, really tense, that's the time to let it all hang out and tell it to the church. And then I think that you will often find much more spirit-driven wisdom in the body of the church than would be the case because you've got 5 guys in a room somewhere trying to sort it out. The New Testament descriptors aren't exactly the same. They clearly don't have denominations and so on. But what you do find is apostolic communication that is crossing from geographical area to geographical area. Paul can write a letter to the Colossians and say, meanwhile, make sure that you read the letter that I sent to Hierapolis and Laodicea and this sort of thing, so that there is some interchurch play. Paul can send off some of his emissaries off to Ephesus to look after the church there, and in his letters, those from Italy greet you, things like that. There is clearly some cross-church fertilization at a time when there was more transportation and communication in the Roman world than at any time in the Western world until the 18th century, because the Roman roads were so good, and they didn't have cell phones, but they did communicate, and the letter system wasn't all that bad either. So there is clearly some sort of concern for cross-church, cross-area communication, and cross-cultural care, especially on the Jewish Gentile front. So the churches in Macedonia and in Greece are supposed to be gathering money together to help the poor in Jerusalem. So they're not little isolated communities, hermetically sealed off, me and my church and my patch, and don't bother me with anything else. There's supposed to be the casting of a worldwide vision. And he wants people to pray for him, for his ministry, that he can go on to Spain and plant the gospel there, and he can tell people that he's got a wide open door in Ephesus, that there are many adversaries and so on. He's thinking globally, he's thinking missionally, and he's trying to pass that on to churches as well. So however you build the structures to do that can vary quite a bit from place to place. But that you've got to try to do it so that you don't become a little hermetically sealed off community is really important, so that we remember that we're concerned for Christians from every tongue and tribe and people and nation, and preparing for the glorious mix around the throne on the last day.